Yeah, it was good to get a win Saturday against Southern Miss team, who's a lot better than what their record indicates. We didn't play our best game, and we have yet to put together 60 minutes in all three phases of our team. If we can put that together, we have a very good football team, and we're excited to get back to play again here at home this weekend in front of our students and fans against Marshall on a national stage on the NFL Network, and both teams have a lot to play for. It's a long rivalry. It's going to be a tough physical game, and we look forward to the challenge.
All right. For our media on the call, please raise your hand to ask a question, and we'll call on you. First questions will come from Dan McDonald.
Morning, Coach Clark. What does it say about your football team that you're down 10 early fourth quarter? Basically, your season may be hanging in the balance. And the way y'all came back, quick strike offense, and then played lockdown defense, what does that say for your team?
I think we have a very resilient football team. We're never out of it. Our kids continue to fight for 60 minutes. And our mantra all week long was keep digging. But again, we finally made some plays. And we talked about at halftime, you had to make a way or find a way or make a way. And our kids found a way to win. And it's something we can build off of. And this is the tough stretch of our season right now in November. And they remember November. So we have a lot to play for still. And we're excited to play Marshall here at home.
I know Joey's had some good games at quarterback this year, but it looks like in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, he was able to do a lot of good things.
Yeah, he's improving. People forget he's still 8 games into Division One, been a Division One quarterback, and he's gotten better every single week. He's gotten better with his reads, getting the ball out of his hands quick. And I think he was 23 for 33 for almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. But we had to eliminate the costly errors, the turnovers, the interception, and then he got the ball knocked loose there trying to make a play. So he keeps improving and gives ourselves a chance to win week in and week out. I think there's a lot of talented receivers around him that help him out, that run the correct routes, the right depth. And our offensive line has been playing well for the most part all year long.
Did you make any defensive changes at halftime?
No, we had to get up and play closer coverage. We were giving away too many quick throws, and then we weren't fitting the run properly. We're not going to win many football games. You give up 300 yards rushing the football. So we had to make sure our receivers, our corners and safeties played tighter coverage, and we had to make sure we fit the defense the correct way. On the long run, the second half, we had to score, and one of our players doesn't fit the right gap. And you do that, then that's a recipe for disaster.
You still have a couple of the teams that you're looking at, down the stretch. Do you play it? I know you have to say you play them one at a time, but looking ahead, you have your future right in front of you.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot to play for, and this is going to go on to the very last week in the conference. And but again, we are going to take a 1-0 mentality, and we're going to face a really good Marshall team who started off the season 4-0 and they've lost a few close games here recently and played some great teams. So it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle all year long. That's where we are right now. But again, it's a game we're excited for. This is a long rivalry. Anybody that knows the history from the Southern Conference between Marshall and App State know that back in those days, it came down to those two teams to win the conference. So again, it's going to be a great atmosphere here at the Rock on Saturday, and we look forward to it.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right, we'll go over to Alvaro Torres.
Hi, Coach Clark. Sorry, I arrived a little later. Well, I don't know if you already answered this, but what stands out the most to you out of Marshall's defense, and how much do you think this game will be affected by the fact that you are on a 4-game losing streak after winning their first 4?
Well, I know Coach Huff will have his team ready. I have a lot of respect for Coach and that program, been from that area, growing up in that area, knowing the tradition they have. But it's going to be a challenge. I mean, they have great players. You look at their defense. Owen Porter, he is just he creates havoc everywhere, every play. I know he had a cast on his hand this past week, but he still made plays. And they're big and physical up front on the defense, and I mean they have a lot of skill in the back end. I know I've listened to Coach Huff, and he's had some injuries. I'm sure they'll be back when we play them, but they play the game the right way. And they've had some tough breaks as well. But against a team we have a lot of respect for, and looking forward to a great challenge this weekend.
Coach Clark, last question for me here, but How important is this rivalry to your program? Obviously, it's one you guys had gotten back to as a non-conference matchup in the few years prior, and then obviously now with Marshall joining the conference. How important is that rivalry to your fans and the program at App State?
It's very important. Before we knew they were coming to the conference, we played here in 21, I believe, or 22 or 21. And it was a Thursday night game, had a great crowd. Both fan bases can travel. I mean, you're looking at 4 to 4.5 hours from campus to campus. And it's just a great college football game. I put them up there with some of the best rivalries in all of college football. So again, two passionate fan bases that have a lot of respect for one another. And again, it's going to be a great challenge for us.
All right, we got time for one more. Let's jump over to Luke Creasy.
Hey, Coach. Sorry I got on late. I don't know if you've already answered this, but obviously they showed 2 quarterbacks against Coastal Carolina. How are you approaching that in preparation for one or the other, or both?
They're both going to play. I know 14 Fancher, he's an excellent quarterback, can beat you with his feet. I'm not sure what his injury is. And then with Pennington coming in, we know the lineage he has with his dad playing. I played against his dad when he was at Marshall, and you watched the last quarter he came in there against Coastal. He can throw the ball. He has great command of the offense. So I don't think they'll change much for who they are. I think that Marshall's going to be who they are and run their offense. But again, we'll have a plan for both quarterbacks.
Thank you, Coach. Peppy with an egg is the tutor's order, right?
That's right. And a little melted cheese. Bring one down for me, will you?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Thanks, Coach Clark. Appreciate the time today.
Yeah, just a great team victory. Really proud of the guys. A lot of guys stepped up, made some plays. It was a great win, great crowd. Really excited about it, but time to move on.
All right. Again, for our media on the call, raise your hand and we'll call on you to ask your question. First questions will come from Dan McDonald.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
Can you assess Jarrett's performance?
Yeah, I thought he played exceptional. Really did. Came out slinging, had confidence, played on time, knew where to go with the ball. Really proud of him. I thought our offensive staff did a great job game planning and had him ready to play.
And how important was it for that offense to jump out on Marshall the way they did?
Yeah, I think in any game, I think it's important, right? You start gaining some confidence, some rhythm, and your whole team feeds off of that, and ours certainly did.
Can you talk about your defensive play? 5 turnovers. I don't know if that was a season high, but it's got to be pretty close.
Yeah, it was. They played really well. Did a really good job. The goal was we had to shut down the run. Lee's a great back. And it felt like that it started with him. And then we felt like we had to keep changing some looks and get after the quarterbacks, and our guys did a good job. And although we didn't get a lot of sacks, we forced a lot of throws. We hurried them at times. We got them off the throw spot. And we confused them at times with some coverage. So I thought Coach Niver and our defensive staff, man, had a tremendous plan. Guys played well.
Have y'all started looking any at the East race? I mean, obviously with JMU not eligible, there's really 5 teams, that can really make some noise in the East.
Yeah, about the only thing I look is at overall records from our teams. Just kind of each week who's won, who hasn't, where they're at. In terms of how the race will play out, I don't know. We just got to take care of business.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right, we'll go over to Alvaro Torres.
Hi, Coach Beck. I hope you're having a great day. Well, what does it mean to have had probably the best game of your season without your best player? And what can you say about how the team managed to rally around Jarrett?
Yeah, I think it shows a lot of the character of the football team and really the people involved. It's very easy to hang your head when you lose a player like Grayson, to feel sorry for yourself, to wonder what's next. Instead, we rolled up our sleeves, came up with a great plan on both sides of the ball, got our kids to play fast and believe, and they did. And, they love Grayson and they love each other. And I think, our message consistently is next guy up. You got to be ready when your number's called. And and Jared was, and there were a lot of other guys that made some plays in the course of the game that, DeAndre Coleman, you just saw guys making plays, and you start getting at this time of the year with guys getting injured, you need players to step up and make plays, and our guys did.
Coach, what have you seen from Old Dominion, whether it's from, earlier film or certainly this past week, pushing JMU to the brink this past weekend?
Yeah, they're a very unique offensive system. They're going to stress you horizontally and vertically and tempo wise. And so you gotta cover everybody, and that's hard to do sometimes. And they've done a great job with that. Defensively, they're unique in their 3-2 defense, or 3-3 defense, basically with the 5 DBs. So it's a very unique system on both sides. So they stress you. These are tough weeks for a coach, because you gotta look. Everything changes a little bit because they're so unique. And they've done a great job, and they've been in every ball game. So, like every week in our conference, you expect a dogfight, and I don't think this will be any different. It'll be a dog fight.
All right, let's go back over to Dan McDonald.
Coach, you mentioned them, the way they can throw the deep ball and make you defend the whole field. Is that the reason? It looked like they got the running game going in the second half against James Madison. That's something not a lot of people have done. Is that because you have to respect the deep stuff so much?
Oh yeah, and you got to cover. They also throw those quick screens, so you got to get your guys out there in coverage, or they're just one-on-ones the whole game. And so you need people out there to cover, to give you some numbers. Then you get later in the box. So that's the purpose. It's kind of the Art Briles system. When Art was developed that at Baylor. And that's kind of what this system is. And so that's the premise, stressing your defense horizontally by getting players out of the box to cover, or stretching them vertically with the vertical passing game and throwing the ball down the field if you leave them one-on-one. So it's simple, but you wonder why more people don't do it. Quarterback's got to have a strong arm, and that kid's a good player. He does. He got a strong arm. He's played in the system with the coach, like the OC that came in. So he kind of gets it and has a good understanding of it. And their team has gotten better each week doing that offense.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Sure.
All right. Thanks, Coach Beck. Appreciate the time this week.
You guys got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Good win against in-state rival ODU on Saturday night. Kind of an exciting game. Good to come away with that win, but I don't think anybody feels like we played kind of like our best game or up to our standard. We had some huge missed opportunities on offense. We should have scored at least 14 to 17 more points, and didn't tackle great on defense, didn't fit the gaps right all the time. And but it was a game where at times we had high highs on offense, high highs on defense, but some of that had to do with ODU too, who's a much improved football team. I give them credit. They came in here, competed hard. It was a hard fought game, and I'm glad to come away with the win.
All right, we'll open up now for questions. Let's kick it over to Jackson to start us off.
Hey, Coach, with the amount of times that you guys have played on the road so far this season, do you feel like your guys are kind of just, really experienced in just playing in hostile environments heading into Georgia State?
Yeah, I think at this point in the season, everyone probably feels that way. And Georgia State is 6-2 and a real impressive football team. Very physical, play fast, play hard, really well coached. Going to be a tremendous challenge for us, no question about it. So, but back on the road, like you said, after being at home, and when you go on the road, it's tough.
All right, we'll go over to Alvaro Torres.
Hi, Coach Cignetti. I hope you're having a great day. Well, state legislators from both parties have shown their strong support on social media and even said that Virginia will go to war to fight for your bowl eligibility. How does all of this make you feel, and how do you think this is affecting the team and their motivation of the remainder of the season?
Well, we've been dealing with all this kind of stuff here for a while now, so we should be pretty accustomed to staying focused on the things that affect how we play on Saturday, which is the key to success. And this week will be no different.
Well, is it fair to call this one the best game your pass defense has played all season? And what are your thoughts on the development of the part of your team throughout the season?
I feel like our pass defense has improved every game throughout the season. We did give up one big explosive play where we didn't get lined up quick enough and didn't do a little something right. But and your second question was what?
And what are your thoughts on the development of this part of the team throughout the season?
The pass defense?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that, I think we've gotten better every game against the pass, fundamentally, and our coverage has tightened up. And, we're doing a good job with Pawns at boundary corner and Logan at field. And, we alternate Chuck Winicki and Reminick at rover, and Jacob Thomas at free's done a nice job, and Meehan too. So every week's a new week. We could have tackled a little bit better on the perimeter at times to the field. Our coverage wasn't quite tight enough, but I feel like we have improved. We still can improve more.
Thank you for your time, Coach.
You're welcome.
Coach, being a rivalry game this past week, how important is it to get a rivalry win against an in-state opponent like ODU, obviously a conference opponent as well, and then for, I believe it was a record crowd at Bridgeport Stadium as well. How important is that for the fan base?
It's huge for the fan base, no doubt about it, because they're working with people from ODU and vice versa. So from that standpoint, every win is equally important from my standpoint, because they all count as one. But to your point, for a lot of people, that was a very important game.
And then how do you game plan for a quarterback like Darren Granger, dual threat that, can run, can pass, and obviously they've got a great running back as well, and Marcus Carroll from Georgia State?
Yeah. Well, with them, it all starts with the run game. You got to do a good job against that, but they're very explosive at receiver also. So the coverage has to be tight, and then you got to be able to keep Granger in the pocket and put pressure on him. You can't let him out of the pocket.
All right. Seeing no further questions, appreciate the time today, Coach Cignetti.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. A lot of credit to Troy. Those guys are really well coached, really good team. Came up a little bit short. And now we're on to Georgia Southern, another really good opponent. Questions?
Coach, was slowing down the run part of the game plan against Troy, and then was that part of what allowed Gunnar Watson to go off? I believe was a career high for passing yards for him this past week.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely an emphasis all week was stopping the run, and I thought our guys did a really good job of that. And he's a good quarterback. I said that last week. They have really good receivers and a good scheme, and we did some things.
Granger in the pocket and put
one of those deals that I thought our guys, we busted a couple times in the back end, and just some small details, not huge things, and allow those guys to get open, and they're a really good team. You can't do that versus a good opponent.
And then for Georgia Southern being more of a passing offense or pass first offense with Davis Brin, how do you adjust from, obviously, they've got some film on some passing last week with Troy. How do you adjust from that to get prepared for the matchup this weekend?
Yeah, he's Davis Brin's a really good quarterback. I followed him, when he was at Tulsa, and recruited him a little bit before he went to Georgia Southern, and a really good player, big arm. They run a great scheme over there, and a lot of respect for their coaches and what they do offensively. So, it'll be quite the challenge, and we got to put together a really good game plan.
All right, let's jump over to Alvaro Torres. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach Kinne. I hope you're having a great day. Well,
Thank
congrats on your win against Troy. Well,
Ooh,
after
I wish.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I
That's okay.
mix up.
That would have been a
Well,
good one.
Sorry. Well, after not being successful in end of game situations against UTSA and Louisiana, what does it mean to score 2 touchdowns in the final 5 minutes of the game right after throwing a pick six?
What was the question?
Oh, after not being successful in the end of game situations against UTSA and Louisiana, what does it mean to score 2 touchdowns in the final 5 minutes of the game right after throwing a pick six?
Versus Monroe. Yeah, that was a good one. That was a couple weeks ago, so it's hard to remember that, but yeah, we're on to Georgia Southern now.
This will be a matchup between the number 1 and number 3 scoring offenses in the league. What stands out the most to you about the Eagles offense, and how do you prevent this game from becoming a shootout?
Yeah, they're really good on offense. Got a really good quarterback. I think that's where it starts. They got a good scheme, good coaches, really good receivers. It's going to be quite the challenge. We got to put together a really good game plan and find a way to slow them down for sure.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
All right, Coach. Seeing no further questions. Appreciate the time today, Coach.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Good win against Georgia State here at Paulson. Electric crowd. Really got to say thank you to our fans and our students. I thought they provided an unbelievable atmosphere for us to play in, show a national TV audience what Statesboro, Georgia is all about. As far as the football game, really proud of our defense. I was nervous going into that game because of the quality of offense that Georgia State has, but to be able to produce 3 turnovers, 4 punts, a missed field goal, and then get out on downs one time, 9 drive stops was kind of the difference in the game. Offensively, thought we back-to-back games showed the balance that is needed, and that's because of a healthy Jalen White. Another 100-yard game for him, and that created some one-on-one opportunities outside, which allowed us to be a little bit more explosive than we had been in the last 2 games. So good win. Now it's starting November, and got a really good Texas State team that we've got to go play on the road. Got a lot of respect for Coach Kinne and the job that he has done this year. It's been an amazing transformation. With that, I'll take any questions.
All right. For our media on the call, please raise your hand to ask a question, and we'll call on you. Let's go over to Alvaro Torres to kick us off.
Hi, Coach Helton. I hope you're having a great day. How have you seen the morale of the team since Saturday, and how do you get them to rally and stay motivated, knowing that you still have everything in front of you?
Yeah, definitely. We've taken a mindset. I know it's coaching cliche, but this team really takes the discipline behind just trying to go 1-0 every week. And, I think if you look too far in the past or you get too far ahead of yourself in the future, you'll get your butt beat in this league. And so the task at hand is to go on the road and be a better road team than what we've shown this year. Our 2 worst losses have been on the road. We're 5-0 at home. And we've got to be able to show the mental toughness and discipline it takes to go into a hostile atmosphere. I've been very impressed with Texas State and their fan base. It reminds us a lot of ours. They produce a really great college game experience, and we're getting ready to play a really, really darn good team. So we've got to be at our best this week. And and like you said, there is a lot to play for, but it doesn't happen unless you go try to be successful this week and focus on this moment.
Well, this will be a matchup between the number 1 and number 3 scoring offenses in the league. What stands out the most to you about the Bobcats offense, and how do you prevent this game from becoming a shootout?
Yeah, in studying Texas State, been unbelievably impressed with their personnel. The difference between last year and this year has been a total flip of a roster. Coach Kinne's done a really good job of bringing in talent, and you can see the results. It's kind of like Georgia State. I don't know if you can stop them. You're just trying to slow them down just enough to outscore them. And so they've got a really talented quarterback that distributes the ball to several playmakers. You can't just double one because he's going to find the others. But when you look at their MO, the games that they've lost have been turnovers. You look at the Troy game where Troy got 4 turnovers, and they're in a heated battle until the ball starts going away, and that's kind of the MO that we were able to win with Georgia State, is getting 3 turnovers. So, we'll continue trying to force them, and hopefully we can get some, because that's really, the only way you kind of slow them down.
Thank you, Coach, and good luck on Saturday at San Marcos.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go over to Dan McDonald.
Morning, Coach.
Morning, Dan.
Sorry, I'm getting here a little late, and you might have already answered this, but what were y'all doing to try to keep Darren Granger under control?
You can't keep him under control. He's a really good player. I mentioned earlier, I think that, our biggest challenge was to just try to slow them down and score more points. And then we had gone into that game thinking, okay, we're going to have to be ultra aggressive offensively and put points on the board. You saw us go for a couple 4th down situations. Instead of choosing field goals, we were trying to go for touchdowns. And we were hoping that we can get some turnovers. And we were able to get 3. And that's been the formula for us. We get 3 or more turnovers in a game, we've won every game. And so we were very fortunate to create 2 interceptions and get a fumble recovery. I thought our defensive line did enough to force the ball out of his hands, and credit to our secondary, did a really nice job of producing some turnovers. So I think that was the difference in the game, to be honest with you. And they still put points on the board, but the turnovers allowed us to get that 2-3 score lead in the second half.
How big was it right before half? I think the last 6 minutes of the half, you were able to score 3 different times.
Yeah, it really created the separation. I think it was 27-7 going in at halftime, and to be able to have that 3-score lead, obviously we had played at a very high level, and knew for a fact they were too good a football team and too good offense, too prideful. You knew they were going to have a momentum at some point in time. I think the most proud I was when we got together in the 4th quarter, right at the beginning of the 4th quarter, and said, hey, you know what, if we said that we were up 13 going to the 4th quarter in a rivalry game, would we be happy? And we'd be, yeah, we're up 2 scores. All right, and then let's take a deep breath and let's finish this thing. And I thought at that point in time, our guys just took that deep breath, reestablished themselves, refocused, and really played a good 4th quarter.
All right, let's go over to Joseph.
Hey, Coach. Davis has 5 interceptions in the last 3 games. I think he's up to 12 on the year. Does that aspect of his game right now concern you at all, or is that you kind of accept that as a natural consequence of throwing the ball so much?
Well, a lot of it is, when you're throwing it 40, 50 times a game, you have a higher rep count. He really had done a nice job the games previous to those 2. I think he was in the 120 range, but without an interception. And, the beauty about some of the better ones I've ever been around is they don't have a conscience, and ours doesn't have one. I mean, he finds open windows and finds availability to be able to find the open man and fit it in tight windows. And sometimes you got to live with the good and the bad. Coach Ellis does an amazing job with him, trying to make sure that he understands that don't put it into a double coverage situation, find the one-on-one and put it up. And sometimes you get a little bit unfortunate with the tip ball. Sometimes you make a poor read. He made a poor read on the post throw this past week, and then the second turnover was a fumble that was not really his fault. So I know that he's working extremely hard on it, and he's getting ready to go back home to Texas. So I know he'll probably put his best foot forward.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, you mentioned it briefly in your opening statement, but you guys are 5-0 at home on the year. How important is the power of Boston to you guys throughout the season? And then obviously this past week with it being an in-state rivalry game on Thursday night.
Yeah, it was a really special atmosphere, and I credit our students, our fans, our alumni. I always say it can't get better than this, and every week it has been. and last Thursday was just a culmination of it getting better and better and better with each and every game. That's usually happens. I've always believed you produce wins. You're going to produce excitement within a community, and that's one of the most special things about Statesboro, Georgia. The community here year, you got to remember the university didn't create this program. The community did. The community came to the university. Hey, we want a football team, and they have supported it from day one. And you can feel that support extremely strong. I felt it Thursday night. Our players felt it. It's one of the reasons that it's one of the top 4 places in the toughest places in the country to play when you look at the numbers.
And then last question for me here, Coach. You've got a lot of different playmakers at wide receiver, but Cobb had one of those explosive plays for you this week as a younger guy in that room. Was that something that he's kind of been building towards throughout the season?
Yeah, we finally got him back healthy. He'd been out a couple games with his shoulder, and it was going to be really important for us. I thought 2 guys really stepped up for us. One was Dalen Cobb, and the other was Marcus Sanders. We had talked about going into that game, hey, understand, people are going to try to take and Derwin. They're one of the top 2 receiving duos in the country, and some other guys are going to have to stay up and not only make their plays, but make explosive plays. And you look at the 2 touchdowns that Dalen had and Marcus, those 2 touchdowns were not only explosive, they were critical moments in the game. So it was great to see some younger players. Both those kids are coming into their second year, and they stepped up in a big way in one of the biggest moments of the year.
All right. Thanks, Coach Helton. Appreciate the time today.
All right, Sam.
Yeah, we lost to Arkansas State, hard-fought game. Had every opportunity to win that game. Had every opportunity. The biggest thing that happened that haven't had it happen before in my career. We had 3 touchdowns called back on penalties, and just haven't had that happen in a long time. And then they held us to 2 field goals inside the 10, so you can add that up. And see the opportunities that we had that we didn't take advantage of, and there were 3 long touchdowns that were called back. All that being said, we're down 10-9 at halftime. We're leading. We go up 16-10, and then go to the fourth quarter down 17-16. And then in a matter of about 2 to 3 minutes, we do a 3 and out, and they score. Do a 3 and out, and they score. And then we catch up at the end as much as we can. But it was they played better at the end of the game than we did. But we had every opportunity. This team has just been snake bitten in a lot of ways. But some of those are self-inflicted mistakes, as we had penalties on all 3 of those long touchdowns that we had. 2 of them were ones that could not have been called. But when you look on the video, they're penalties. That's what they are. They're not always called, but they are. And so now, and again, now what we've got to do is go back and continue to play hard and work hard and get ready for the next game. Because again, this team has come out ready to play hard, and things just, we got a freshman quarterback, and he threw for 300 yards, no turnovers. We had no turnovers. We had a lot of things positive in that game that you want to do and win the game. We had no turnovers in that game. We held time of possession. The penalties that we had was where we have been a team not penalized very often, and we had, I want to say, 90 yards of penalties, and they were all critical. They were all critical penalties on a punt return for a touchdown, on a punt block for a touchdown, and on a 50-yard bomb, where our lineman was blocking downfield, but he made contact on the line of scrimmage and pushed the guy 5 yards downfield, and sometimes it's called, sometimes it's not. But anyway, it was called back. And so Arkansas State should get the credit, because they, at the very end of the game, when the score was within a point, they did what they had to do to win the game. We just got to keep pushing and fighting and overcoming little things that we've got to get better at.
All right. For our media, please raise your hand and we'll call on you for your questions. Our first questions will come from Dan McDonald.
Morning, Coach.
Morning.
Besides the touchdowns getting called back, how disappointed was it that you had those 2 very solid drives there in the second quarter and had to settle for field goals?
That we can't. That's been a little bit of our problem. We have not had a good goal line offense. We've had some field goals down there and opportunities, but those were ones that you need to come away with points. So at the time, you want to make sure you get something, and they kept adding up, and it went to, we went ahead 9-7 before they went to 10. Well, one of our field goals was a 50-yarder. It was a good kick. But you got to score touchdowns, not kick field goals. When when we have played a very good offense like Texas State or a team like that and held them to field goals, you're in the football game. But what we've got to do is do a better job of preparing our players inside the 10-yard line, not necessarily on the goal line, but inside that 10, and make sure we have every opportunity we come away with points, because you can add all those opportunities up, and when you get down to it, it would have been enough not to be behind at the end of the game.
How much of that maybe is contributed to the fact that you've got a first-time freshman there playing quarterback?
Well, I mean, you limit what you can do out there. You limit what you can do as far as your entire offense. Sometimes the running quarterback at that area, your quarterback becomes more effective in that running. And so we've been trying. I don't want to say we're spoon feeding him, but he's only into his second game that he's ever played in, and again he threw for 300 yards and 56 or 57% and no turnovers. But it does limit a little of the things that you accumulate an offense in the red zone. You have 2 or 3 specials you put in each game that you're good at, and he was not a part of that. We had 2 quarterbacks getting all the reps early. Hunter Herring, who won the first 2 games, broke his collarbone, so all those reps he didn't get. And so we're doing the best. We're putting a lot on Blake Murphy's shoulders, and I don't want him to take responsibility. We have a responsibility too to go out there and do a great job in the red zone. But we're trying to get him as much as he can. He'll be our starter. Jaya came in and did a good job on short yardage, and he has some things he can do to help us too as the senior quarterback. But right now we're moving forward, Blake Murphy, and each week it gets a little bit better, and we'll have to. I mean, Georgia Southern Miss is experiencing a tough season like us, but man, most of the time they're scoring points, and you got to score points just to keep up with them, because they've scored over 30 in 3 of their 5 conference games. They've scored over 30, and they were. I mean, last week they were against App State. They were almost unstoppable on offense.
You mentioned Blake for a minute. What is he doing well right now, and what are some of the things you'd like to see him sort of pick up as it goes along?
Well, I mean, he has all the throws. He's got great. He's very comfortable as a quarterback, comfortable in the pocket, sees the field. Even when he's scrambling, he keeps his eyes downfield. He's got the sidearm throws, got some touch throws. He has all that stuff. I think right now, because of his inexperience, he will make a throw that they want him to make. It might be for 2 or 3 yards instead of holding on to the one that he needs to make. And I think that just comes with time, as a defense kind of baits you into throwing a 2-yard flat route when your 15-yard curl is going to come open. I think those are the little things that only come with a little more experience. They say the game slows down, and it does. And I think that just comes with experience. But I think the key for him to do is to understand situations and not just throw completions, because he's getting that done. Make sure you understand down and distance and what we want to obtain from each play. So that all I can say is that comes from experience. And true freshmen, you just have to kind of feel their way into it.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right,
Coach. Last question here for me. Southern Miss has Frank Gore Jr., obviously a dynamic playmaker in the backfield, had one of his best games of the season this past week. What do you do to game plan for a player like that?
You just hope you can limit the big plays, the explosive plays. He's going to make plays. He's a gifted, smooth, natural runner. He runs effortless, and he's been so smooth, and he can do so many things. And shooting the shotgun, you might even throw the football on you. But it's funny. Back when I was at ABC doing broadcasting, I remember covering his dad in a national championship game, and it was amazing how talented his dad was. And he's kind of the same guy, not quite as big, but just super talented. So they sure, and you know what, and they do a great job of utilizing all of his talents. They know what he can do, and they find a way to get the ball in his hands. And we'll have to limit him. I don't know that we can stop him. We got to limit him, as Old Dominion did a little bit, and as South Alabama did a little bit. But you've got to try to do the best you can of limiting what he does to hurt you, because they will go downtown too. They got some little run receivers that can run, and they can throw the ball downtown too.
All right, thanks, Coach Bowden. Appreciate the time today.
Thank y'all, man.
Yeah, good win last week over Texas State on the road. It's a short week. We got back at like 3:30 or 4 a.m. and now we get to go play on Thursday night. So we got to get ready fast. We're against a really good opponent. So short week, short opening statement.
All right, we'll open up now for questions for our media on the call. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you. Our first questions will come from Craig Stevenson.
Hey, Coach, you happier with your defense than you have been in the past? Seemed like you guys played a pretty complete game.
I thought we gave them way too many yards. We were better on red. We were good in the red zone, but we gave up 300 yards in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually what we do in a game. So I thought we played pretty average, to be honest. We were opportunistic in the red zone and we got some turnovers, but I didn't really think we covered very good. So, and South Alabama throws the ball like all over the place. Number 4 is unbelievable. The other guy, 12 is unbelievable. Tight ends are good. The backs are good. So I don't know. Like I don't think we're playing very good defense. Everybody's patting their hands on the back. I think we're average.
In terms of the second halves, though, you guys have seemed to, I don't know, but adjust, probably figure something out at halftime or whatever it is. The second half, you guys seem like a different team.
Yeah, I think there's been improvement. I would say that's accurate. Second half has improved. You know, after a team kind of maybe shows you some of what their plan is, it's easier to have a feel for what could be coming or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we're making good halftime adjustments, and really credit to our staff on that, and credit to our young men on our team. Because no matter how good the adjustments you make are, if the guys don't adjust with them, it don't really matter. So our players are doing a nice job. Last
thing I had, Gunnar Watson obviously has really come a long way this year. Was that as good as you've seen him?
Yeah, Gunnar's he's a different guy. You know, I've been saying all off season, but like when he made the decision to come back for year 6, he could have done a lot of things this year other than play football. You know, I wouldn't have been mad at him if he rode off into the sunset last year after winning the conference game and being the player of that game and those sort of things. And he made the decision he wanted to come do it one more time. And I think when you make that kind of decision, you usually commit yourself to giving yourself the chance to be your best. And he's made significant improvements in every area of his life, off the field, on the field. He's a ridiculously hard worker. He's an outstanding teammate. He's tough as nails. Maybe too tough sometimes. He's got a little dumb tough in him, not smart tough, but I love him. I'm proud of him. I was very happy to see the game he played on Saturday. We need him to play good this Thursday to have a chance. It's Wednesday right now here in Troy. So I'm a little confused, but I'm proud of Gunnar for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
All right, we'll jump over to Dan McDonald.
Morning, Coach.
Hey, Dan.
I love the dumb tough. That's pretty good. I've got to use that sometime.
Yeah.
You talked about your defense, but in the second half, they really only had one major drive, and then you even held them to a field goal. What did you do better?
We were better on third down. We created a couple of turnovers. You know, they were driving kind of, and we forced a fumble. That was a critical play. But just, I think we didn't handle the tempo great on that first drive of the game. And after that, I thought we handled the tempo better. And I think we also started doing a better job of just affecting the quarterback. You know, their quarterback has got a big arm, can make all the throws. But sometimes you try to speed up the decision-making process by putting people around him.
How do you compare what they do offensively to what South Alabama does offensively?
Yeah, South's playing with more tempo than they did last year, I feel like. You know, they have great receivers. Like I said, I think the number 4 and the number 12, those two guys are really explosive athletically. They got other good players too, but those guys really jump out. So I think there's a lot of similarities, vertical shots, a lot of quick game, getting the ball out on the perimeter fast too. And so a lot of similarities.
Louisiana was able to get some pressure on the quarterback. I know that's something that I know you'd like to do to really, you know, key your defense.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought the Raging Cajuns did a great job of creating pressure, and I was very impressed with how they played on defense when they played last week. So it was, you know, something to look at and see if we could try to emulate or even act like we could do any of that. We're going to try.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We'll jump over to Joseph.
Hey, Coach. What's it mean to your guys, and what's kind of the general feeling amongst them to be in control of your own destiny right now in terms of, getting the West berth in the championship game?
Yeah, I don't know what it means to the guys. To me, it just means we got a game this week. We got to play good. I don't get caught up in all the other stuff. I just want to be really good this week, and hopefully that happens. If it does, then try to be really good next week. And if it doesn't, we'll still try to be really good next week.
Fair enough. One more for you, Coach. A couple times on these calls and in your pressers and that sort of thing, we've heard you kind of challenge your guys to be better and step up. You said earlier that you thought you guys were kind of average in the first half. What's their response when you say things like that and challenge them to step those aspects of their game up?
Oh, their response is great. I think probably one of the best things we do here is when we recruit our roster. When we recruit guys to this team, I'm really brutally honest. Like, I don't really recruit guys and like make everything feel like a sales pitch. I'm almost like so honest that I occasionally try to scare guys away from coming here. That way, when they come here, they know what they're in for. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to be honest with you. We're going to coach you hard. We're going to love you just as hard, if not harder. So our guys know the brutal honest is brutal. The brutal truth is going to always come out of my mouth. I don't sugarcoat things with them. And if guys want things sugarcoated, they don't need to be here because it ain't going to happen.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Coach, last question here from me. This is a league that's got a lot of regional rivalries, built on regional rivalries. This game was what, essentially determined who was going to the Sun Belt Championship game last year, with you guys getting in and ended up hosting the game as well. But how big is this week in the battle for the belt rivalry for your program?
Yeah, rivalries are great for college football. And this is a great series. And, we've got a lot of respect for the program we're playing. And I think they've got tremendous players and coaches. And it's rivalries are great. They're good for the game. They're good for fans. They're good for the universities. As a coach, I'm worried about our team playing their best, but rivalries are great for the sport.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
Thank y'all.
So it's always good to be going in November and have something significant to play for. I think that's what you want, is to have a chance to do something special in November. And, for our team, we coming off of a win that, we've got to take that and build some momentum off of it. And kind of the challenge and what we talked about is like, that can't be the event, that's got to be the momentum, and that's got to be something that we build off of. And then certainly, going to Jonesboro, historically, we have really had a tough time up there. I mean, they're hard to beat at their place. I think they are a much improved football team. They're playing really good football right now. We're going to have our hands full every week, which is pretty much typical in this league. So, a lot of work for us to continue to do, some really good things to build off of. But certainly, I say it all the time, whether you come out on top or you finish behind, on the scoreboard, you got to get back to work the next week, and you got to focus on things you can do to help your team play better the next week. And that's what we need to do.
For our media on the call, please raise your hand and we'll call on you for questions. Our first questions will come from Dan McDonald.
Morning, Coach. Do you ever remember having a game since you've been around that you had a 5-0 turnover difference?
No, I don't know if I do. Been on the wrong end of it a couple times, but no, I mean, it was it's just, that defensive performance is something I was really proud of. We had a number of guys that were not able to play in that game. I think we had about 5 starters that were out. So for those guys to go and play that way, the game was in the third quarter when South made that run, and tried to get back in it. We were able to get some points and we were able to get takeaways. And that was really the difference in the game, was we kind of survived that wave in the third quarter pretty well. And our defense, all night, man, they were attacking the football, and that's what you got to do. And all year kind of felt like we were just, the turnover battle, we just couldn't get ahead of it. And if we can start doing that, protecting the ball better on offense, start forcing some takeaways, we can finish this thing the way we want to.
it looked like you were able to get pressure on the quarterback without sacrificing, without having to bring a lot of guys and leaving a lot of one-on-one coverage. Was that sort of, going in, were you able to, did you think you might be able to get that kind of pressure on?
I think you always hope you can, against those guys, though, I mean, you couldn't really blitz and pressure. I mean, they have these receivers that, Coach Sumrall was just talking about it, but they have these receivers that are a problem in space. And I think they have a really good scheme. And if you're going to start pressuring, they run all these mesh concepts and things, and their quarterback does a good job. He gets the ball out of his hand. And if you're a step behind it, I mean, it could turn into a touchdown and explosive, which we saw the 2 weeks before that. So, we knew that we couldn't blitz them. And we knew that pressures were going to have to be pretty calculated. So, we hoped we were going to be able to get pressure, but I think the defensive front for us, they performed really well, and they were able. I mean, they played with a lot of energy and a hell of a lot of effort. A lot of it was good coverage, and they just kept playing and kept pressure, and just played all the way through, and were able to get the guy on the ground and get some turnovers.
You mentioned Arkansas State this week. What are they doing better, or what are maybe they doing now that maybe they weren't doing early in the season when they were struggling? They've obviously fixed some of that.
Well, I mean, you gotta talk about the quarterback and the way that guy's played. Man, I mean, for a young kid, he's impressive. He takes care of the football for the most part. Really does a good job of that. Doesn't throw it in jeopardy. He's got arm talent. He pushes the ball. They're not protecting him and just, getting the ball out of it. He's throwing it down the field. So they're hitting these shots down the field. I think they're running the ball better. The last couple of weeks, when you watch them, they're doing a much better job running the football. He's a part of that as well, with the zone read stuff. I've just been really impressed with him. It's hard to believe that kid's a freshman. He's really a good player, man. He's going to be a star in this league. And defensively, they know exactly what they're doing on defense, and they kind of know where their issues are, and they mix up coverages, and they mix up, the way they play things. So they kind of make you second guess it a little bit at the quarterback spot. So, they've been better on defense as well, and I think a lot of it is, I think they've kind of narrowed in on what they're doing, and they're doing a really good job of it. They know exactly where the issues are. And everyone's got issues on defense, and they have enough variables. They do a really good job where they'll mix the coverage, and a free throw that you think you got, all of a sudden someone buzzes out there and it's gone, and then you're holding the ball. So they play really tough defense. Their guys up front, I think their 2 interior guys do a great job against the run on the inside. They've got good length on the edge and good speed. And they kind of, they playing good football. But I think offensively, you got to kind of look at that a little bit and say, man, since this quarterback's been playing, they got into some zone read game. Obviously, in the pass game, when he pulls it down and scrambles, that's a nightmare. But he's throwing the ball really well.
That sounds a little like your quarterback.
Yeah, I think our quarterback has done a really good job too, and I think these 2 guys are really bright spots in the future of the conference. That they're 2 really good players.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, tough loss for us this past week. At App State, man, got a lot of respect for their program and Coach Clark, and hard-fought game for us where we led most of the game and just couldn't hold on to it at the end. Credit to App State for getting it done. And, we saw some improvement in some areas, but just disappointed we couldn't hold on and get the win. We're back at home this week versus a UL Monroe team that's a lot like us, man. They've lost a lot of close games. They've lost, 2 by 1 point. They've lost 3 games by a score. And, just a football team that's playing much better than their record says. And so we're back at home, back at the Rock, and got to figure out a way to get a win. With that, I'll open it up.
All right, for our media on the call, please raise your hand and we'll call on you to ask your question. First question will come from Sam Schuyler.
Hey, Will. Wanted to ask you about Ethan Crawford and his role this weekend, and how you just feel like he contributed to the offense, and if you envision that being a part of the offense moving forward, and maybe even growing in a growing capacity.
Yeah, when we signed Ethan, we had, high hopes for him. He highly recruited kid, was a great high school player. And as the seasons, he's coming off a knee injury that happened the last game of his senior year of high school. So, getting him back healthy, he's almost a year removed now from that knee injury. He's gotten more comfortable, and a really talented kid with a lot of charisma and a lot of moxie. And we had a package for him this week, and he handled it well. So I anticipate that could, grow as the season keeps going. And, Billy played really well in this game too. We had good quarterback play all the way around, and both of them played well. And so that was good to see. And we'll hopefully continue to build on that with our quarterback play moving forward.
All right, we'll go over to Heath Hinton.
Hey, Coach, so many games that were close at the end that you come up short on. How do you keep the team focused in the winning those and not feeling, towards you get to the end of the game, you're scared something's going to happen? How do you keep that from being a mindset of the team going forward?
Yeah, I think learning how to win with young guys is a process. We talked a lot about it last year. We were an older team last year, when we're kind of going through it again. At first you lose big, and then you lose close, and then you win close. And I think we're at the point with a young team. Like I said, you've heard me say it, Heath. We've got 28 players that have been here 3 years or more. We'll have 57 next year. I think we're playing some good football teams really close, and we've got to get over that hump. And I think we're going to. I think you just keep believing in what you're doing. I think you don't let go of the rope, and you keep digging into your core values and beliefs. And we're going to get over that hump eventually.
All right, let's go over to Scott Curt.
Coach, I am a little bit curious. Now losing your 7th in a row, you're not Bowden eligible for the 4th time in the last 10 years. I just wonder, just from the coaching staff, does anything change as far as the year goes forward now that goal can't really be reached?
Well, I mean, we're just focused on getting better every day. We got a lot of young kids that we're getting better with every day. And then we want these older guys to end the right way. I think we're playing extremely hard. I think you saw that last week. We just, we've lost some close games to some really good football teams. And we're going to continue to work and continue to believe in what we are doing and building, and hopefully take another step forward this week.
Heath, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, Coach, first half defense, gave 14 points, second half, left 34. What are some of the things defensively in the first half that you were able to do that maybe you couldn't do, or did App State change some things up? Just kind of curious on that aspect of the game.
Yeah, just explosive plays, Heath. You saw it. We got to get the guy down. I thought we in the box, we struck and extended and got off of blocks. When the ball got into our back end, we've got to be able to get the ball down, and it's been documented what's happened to us on the back end and all that, but we've got to find a way to get him down. We lost 4 guys for the year back there that were integral in what we were doing. Our injuries kind of all hit us in one spot, but when it's getting into our back end right now, you've seen over the last 2 weeks, we've had an extremely hard time getting it down. And those explosive plays are going from 14 yards to 20 yards to 60 yards. And we've got to find a way to get it down. And that ultimately was the difference in the game, was those explosive plays given up in the second half. And credit to App State, for making those plays.
And we got another follow-up here from Scott.
Yeah, Coach. So this Saturday is going to be the first time in nearly a month you guys return back to the Rock. Is that going to be almost like a sigh of relief, like, back in front of the home crowd almost?
Yeah, maybe for some people, some of them like going on the road, because that's fun too, to get away and be together. So, we're looking forward to playing another game, no matter where it's at. We're looking forward to getting better again and taking the practice field tomorrow and getting better. And because I like the direction we're moving in and think we've got a great chance to show improvement again this weekend.
All right. Thanks, Coach Hall. Appreciate the time today.
All right. See you guys.
Sure. Good afternoon. Coming off a big loss to our rival Georgia Southern there last Thursday night. Good thing about that is we played on Thursday night. We've got a few days to go ahead and get over it because we've got a huge opponent coming up this weekend. I think the 23rd ranked James Madison Dukes will be rolling in here for a 3:30 contest, which is a huge challenge for us. Very good football team. Coach Cignetti, a lot of respect for how he runs his program and who he is as a person. I know they're tough, I know they're physical, and right now they're the standard in the league. So we've got to have a great week of preparation. We certainly got to be much better than we were last Thursday evening. And I think we've made progress in our mindset and our physical attributes here in the last couple of days that we're on track to be a better football team coming this Saturday.
All right, for our media on the call, please raise your hand and we'll call on you to ask your questions. First, we'll kick it over to Stan Autry. Stan, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I just wanted to test. I just wanted
Put
to
your earpiece in, Stan.
Hey, hey, I was looking at the numbers, and JMU's run defense looks like it's really, really, really stout. What is it about them? Is it scheme, personnel, the way they play? What goes into all that?
Oh God, what are they giving up? Like 46 yards rushing. I think they're first in the country. God, I mean, you just look at their front four. They play with extreme effort. They strain on every play, getting off blocks. We all see the same schemes, week in and week out. But their guys just get off blocks and make plays. They play extremely hard, and that's the difference. I mean, like I said, they may not be in position at all times, but they're getting off and shedding blocks and making plays. I think they're very, very well coached. I think from an all-around defensive standpoint, they're the standard in our league, and we got to be really, really, really good.
Is that a special challenge for your offensive line to kind of rise to the occasion this week? And
I mean, guy, anytime you're going up against the number one ranked rushing defense in the country, it's got to be a little bit of a challenge, or something's wrong with you. We're going to go out. We're going to do what we do. We just got to do it a lot better than we've done it, and I think we will. I think we'll be up to the task. But like I said, they're a very talented football team, very tough bunch. We played them a year ago. They were tough there, and they're coming back down here and going to be better.
Thanks, Shawn.
Yeah.
All right, let's head over to Jackson.
Hey, Coach, you talked a little bit in your opening statement about the challenge of JMU and also how you feel like your team has improved in terms of mindset this week. What is sort of the central message they're kind of giving to your guys heading into this crucial matchup?
Well, here we are fixing to enter November, and we talked about all the things that we talked about in August, on August 1st, when we took the field for the very first time. And every one of those scenarios are still in play. Here we are, we're playing a little bit behind what we have been the last few weeks, but you talking about having a chance to win the East, having a chance to, we're bowl eligible, having a chance to set the record for most regular season wins, the best team in school history, possible Sun Belt championship, playing the 23rd ranked team in the country. You talk to our offensive line and our offensive guys about, hey, they're one of the best defenses in all the country. There's a lot of things that get you going. There's a lot of great things ahead of us for our football team. For us to drag our heads and not be thrilled about the opportunity to go play such a talented group like James Madison, or have the opportunity to go and finish the season out the way we want to, would be foolish. So our guys are walking down. We certainly got a little chink in our armor after the defeat last Thursday night, but I can understand you need to understand we've got a good solid group, good positive group, and our mindset is straightforward and ready to go play.
You mentioned a little bit bouncing back after last Thursday, but taking it back to last season, you guys almost beat the Dukes on the road. Have you kind of heard your guys or anybody in the coaching staff talk about that game at all and sort of use that as motivation?
Absolutely not. To be honest with you, we don't look at last year games all that much. And those are two totally different teams, different players, different concepts. I don't even look at scouting reports or play call sheets or anything from games. I like to focus on the team and the task ahead for this year. So that's what we're going to do, and that's our mindset. And it means nothing for us that we may have played them close and almost came away with a win. I think almost maybe the dumbest word in the dictionary. But here we are. We're playing the 23rd ranked team in the country, and they are really good, and that's motivation enough.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. See no further questions. Thanks for the time today, Coach Elliott. Appreciate it.
Yep. Y'all have a great afternoon. Appreciate y'all.
All right. For immediate.
Yes, well, a good road win for us and moving forward, kind of the tale of two halves. First half, I thought defensively kept us in the game, critical down execution, red zone area defense. We allowed them just to give up field goals, didn't give up touchdowns. And then the second half, I like the way we played as a football team. We played complementary football. We took care of the football. We scored 24 unanswered points. We were able to run the football. So, again, I thought it was a good win for us because things didn't go our way in the first half, and credit Monroe, but also some of the things, some adversities we created for ourselves. But our kids kept fighting, kept believing, kept playing. And then what can I say about Dominic Zabata? Again, 3 for 3 on field goals, some big kicks for us. Corey Rucker stepping up again out on the perimeter. I thought Jeff Foreman had 2 game-altering catches for us as well. So, again, anytime you go on the road and you win, it's a good win. But now a tremendous, tremendous challenge in playing a Louisiana football team that's really talented. And I think the greatest illustration when I watch their football team is they have not built their football program through the transfer portal. They built their football program through recruiting and developing their players. And I believe they have 8 out of 11 starters back on offense. Defensively, do some really good things. Line of scrimmage team and the offensive and defensive fronts. Quarterback adds a whole nother dynamic. As good as team as we played all year. And then when you look at them on special teams, they're physical, they're violent. Really, really, really good team speed, let alone their size. So I think they're a really, really complete football team, and it's going to be a great challenge for us on Saturday.
All right. For our media on the call, please raise your hand and we'll call on you for your questions. First questions come from Jeremy Harper.
Hey, Coach. Good morning.
Jeremy.
So against ULM, the first half, that interior run game just wasn't working at all. It was just like running into a brick wall. And then the second half, suddenly lanes opened up and the running game was what propelled the victory. What happened in the second half? What was that halftime adjustment?
Well, first of all, you have to give ULM some credit. They're a good football team, and we knew coming in they could very well have been 5-2 as opposed to 2-5. And they don't give up explosive plays. In the first half, I thought we were trying to play too perfect. We weren't running off the football. We were very, very tentative. We didn't handle some of the different movements very well. Some of our combination blocks, everything was stalemated at the line of scrimmage. I think Jalen had some things we could do better from a quarterback in terms of decision-making in the run game. So I think, really the second half, we ran off the ball a little bit better. We were better, more firmer in our combinations. I thought Zach Wallace did a really good job of pressing his landmarks and getting the ball vertical north and south. So I think more so than anything, I think it was the overall discipline to execute more. We had more individuals doing their job. So I think it was a combination of all those little things.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, certainly some parallels between you guys with Jalen Rahne and then Zion Chris, who came in at quarterback for Louisiana kind of midway through the year. What are some things about him that make him difficult to game plan for?
Well, it makes it very difficult because he can improvise. He can make plays with his legs, but he can also throw the football. And, he can throw the deep ball. He can throw the intermediate. He can throw the 3-step. So I think the other thing is when the pocket collapses, he has the ability to turn a negative yardage football play into a 3 or a 4 or an 18-yard football play. So he has to be accounted for in everything. You have to have great discipline in your pass rush lanes and your integrity within the pocket. And you have to play with incredible effort because he can make a play. He does a good job of a high vision down the field, and then their receivers can make plays. So again, he adds a whole nother element, a whole nother dynamic, and just, the ability of an explosive play presents itself every time, every play, because obviously he touches the ball on every single play.
And then I believe it's been 5 straight wins for Louisiana in this head-to-head matchup. What would you guys have to do well this coming weekend to be able to kind of get over that hump and win the game?
We're going to have to play our best football game of the year in all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. Again, very, very complete football team, older, experienced football team. I think when you see the dynamics of the teams right now that are tops in the Sun Belt, I think it's a direct correlation to age, maturity, being in this conference, understanding the physicality and the lines of scrimmage, everything that when you talk about a football program, really that's who they are.
All right, let's jump back over to Jeremy.
Sorry, Coach. I had one more question.
That's okay.
So in the past few years, Arkansas State has had really a lot of trouble closing out that fourth quarter. But it was the fourth quarter where Arkansas State really poured it on the Warhawks. What does that do for the confidence in the locker room right now? I know that there's been a lot of losses that happened in the fourth quarter that really took the steam out of the team.
Yes, I think anytime you can win a game in the fourth quarter, outscore your opponent in the fourth quarter. We talk about that every single week. Every team's offseason is comprised of winning the fourth quarter, but you have to have the ability to do it. And I think when you do it and when you execute it, it breeds confidence and it breeds belief. And we've been much better this year, but also our players are extremely aware of it. But, there's no secret to winning the fourth quarter. You got to possess the football. Part of winning the fourth quarter is possessing the football. The ability to run the football is part of time possession and making your possessions count. So I think all that goes into that. And if you really look at the dynamics last week, we were able to run the football in the fourth quarter.
Thanks, Coach Jones. Appreciate the time today.
Okay. Have a great week.
Yeah. Emotional loss. The kids played tremendously, and they played with a lot of effort. We made too many mistakes that against a really good football team like JMU is going to cost us. So excited to come back and get another opportunity. And in this conference, that means you get to play another great team. And so, Coastal is playing tremendous right now. They're playing on awesome football. And so we're excited to be able to welcome a great football team like that into SB Ballard Stadium and into Norfolk.
All right. For our media on the call, please raise your hand and we'll call on you to ask your questions. Coach, how would you assess Grant Wilson's performance? Thought it was one of his most kind of complete games of the year thus far.
Yeah, I thought he played with a lot of conviction. I thought he operated the offense really, really well. It was one of those things where sometimes when you're a smart kid like him, you can start to see too much and do those sort of things. I think maybe that's what he was doing a little bit early in the year, but right now he's got his eyes. He's got great eye discipline. He's very, very talented, so he can make the throws that we need him to make, and he's done a great job. And so excited about the way he played in this game, and we need to keep it going because he certainly gave us a chance to win.
All right, let's head over to Luke Creasy.
Hey, Coach, just how much different is your on-field product versus maybe at the start of the year? Because, you guys have, been able to use some explosive plays and get together a string of a few good games here.
Yeah, I think we've grown. Obviously, we had a team that hadn't a bunch of guys who maybe hadn't been with us and that sort of thing. So I think time has allowed us to play better football as a team, both offensively, defensively. We need to still continue to play better on special teams that we've traditionally been great here. Coach Smith is, an unbelievable coach, and we've been awesome on teams. And this year we haven't played as consistent on teams as we need to play. But yeah, we've certainly made some improvements. We just need to be, again, I probably said it every time this year, we just need to be more consistent.
Let's go to Alan Blondin.
Hey, Coach. I'm assuming you've watched the Coastal film against Marshall. It might be a bit of a skewed reference because they played so well, but do you see are there any limitations maybe in their offense without Grayson McCall and with Jarrett Guest in there?
Not the way he played in that game. You want to talk about a guy who looked really comfortable, looked at ease. I mean, it's not like he was out there making Superman plays. He was just out there executing the offense. Looked like looked like it was his 47th start in a row. And, just played awesome. I mean, I have I haven't played the position. I have a ton of respect for the way he was able to go in there and play. So, no, there's not a whole lot of limitations. Now, when you've got the receiving core they've got, the experienced offensive line that they have, a tight end that gives you the versatility that their tight end gives them, and then the running backs where it just seems like they have an entire stable of those guys. So if the quarterback can do what he can do like that, there's not a whole lot of limitations on him on that end.
And Coach, we're well into the season, but preseason you guys were picked to finish last in the conference. Is that something that you took to heart and try to prove everybody wrong every week?
No, I mean, I don't really look at those things. I mean, people try to talk to me about them and those sort of things. I mean, they don't matter. I don't even know how people do preseason predictions anymore. I mean, they don't know the teams. I mean, our teams are, if you look around the league, look how many guys are playing with guys who weren't on their teams last year. Most of these, we have a lot of coaches that are new coaches in the league. We have new coordinators. We have across the league. So, I mean, let's call those preseason things what they are, guesses. I mean, those are educated now. I mean, I'm not saying that people don't do their jobs. People obviously do their job, but I'm saying I think it's an impossible task that we're asking people to do these. I'm one of those people who believes we shouldn't even have the rankings until week 5 or 6. I mean, I just think they're kind of nonsensical up to that point. But no, I don't look at those things. I've seen our football team. I see how hard they're working, and for us, it's all about going 1-0 each and every week.
And it's a coach's poll, so do you vote in those, or do you let your SID do it, or do you
so we get
asked
to volunteer to do that, and I probably shouldn't publicly say this, but I do not volunteer for it ever. You want to know why? Because you get crushed. No one I've never heard any media person ever say this coach's poll is terrific. They did a great job on this. They really thought it out. They really went through everything, and man, you know what? Let's give them a round of applause. Now, all you ever get is, obviously he's got a beef against this coach because he ranked him lower than this guy and that sort of thing. It's never a good thing. It's one of those things where it's kind of like throwing out the first pitch. You can go in there and you can rip a 90-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle. Yeah, the people who are there are going to cheer for you. You go throw one 80 feet over the head or throw one 4 feet in front of the mound, and that one lives on in infamy forever. So, I mean, it's one of those where the risk reward's not real high. So, no, I do not vote in it.
Thank you, Coach.
And thanks, Coach Rahne. Appreciate the time this week.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Hope everybody's having a great week. Tough battle down in Conway, South Carolina. Way too many missed opportunities on our part to beat a really good football team. Hats off to Coach Beck and everything that they're doing. Praying for Grayson as he transitions in this medical situation, praying that he's okay. But really good job. They kicked our tails. We got to play better. Got a lot of things to get cleaned up. I'm excited about this opportunity, though. This game this week is a game that has a lot of history between these two schools. Coach Clark has done a phenomenal job, down there since he's been there. His teams play hard. They're tough. They're well coached. They play the game the right way. They're always competitive. I know records are records, and there's reasons for the records, but they're always competitive. They've got a really good environment. I think their fans and their administration do a really good job with their game day environment. So it's going to be a battle. I expect a lot of Marshall fans will have a lot of eyes on this game just because of the past history, obviously, between the two schools. So we're looking forward to it.
All right. For our media on the call, please raise your hand and we'll call on you for your questions. First questions will come from Luke Creasy.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, when you look at the past few games, turnovers have kind of come back to be a big problem. How do you go about correcting those, and and where does that start?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One, the first thing you got to do is look at from a coaching perspective, are we putting the players in the best position to be successful with what we're asking them to do. That's where it always starts with us. And then two, are the players able to execute? I mean, there's a lot of reasons for turnovers. Ultimately, it comes down to somebody either putting the ball on the ground from a fumble perspective, or someone throwing an interception from a quarterback perspective, which the quarterback gets all the blame, but there are reasons. Obviously, that's something that we've got to fix. I'm not turning a blind eye to it. We had minimized it a little bit when we were playing well, obviously. And in this last, 4-game slide, it's come back to haunt us. So we've got to get it fixed. We've got to make sure that we're taking care of the ball. It puts our defense in a tough position. It puts us in a tough position. Some of it is a little bit, when you get into the game that was Saturday, you got to throw it a little more. So you're probably going to have a few more interceptions. It's not an excuse, but the more you throw the ball, the more opportunity for it to not go the right way. But if we throw it 100 times, we've got to be able to make really good decisions with the ball. We got to be able to make really good throws. Receivers got to do a great job catching the ball. Obviously, O-line's got to protect. So definitely something we're looking at and have to get fixed. Not want to get fixed, but have to get fixed.
All right, let's go over to Joseph.
Hey, Coach. I think for most of us, obviously not you, but that was kind of our first real look at Cole Pennington last week. Just curious if you have any words of, assessment of his performance.
Yeah, I thought he did some good things. Some of the things that show up in practice, where he needs to continue to grow, showed up in the game. I thought the things that he did really well in practice, or consistently does in practice, he was able to consistently do in the game. Can't turn the ball over 3 times. That's just something that obviously we've got to get fixed, not only in the quarterback position, but with the receivers and running backs, the whole nine. But I thought for the first time going to the college game, he did some really good things. There's going to be some opportunities that he's got a chance to learn from. It's not evaluating, the flow of the game, but evaluating his play. There's a lot of things that we could say, hey, really good job. And there's some things here we could say, okay, this showed up in practice, and this is why we're telling you have to improve in order to be the quarterback that he knows he can be.
Got to follow up here from Luke.
Coach, obviously the team in-house reacts differently than the fan base does from the outside looking in. The sentiment from fans is the sky is falling, 4-game streak, this is the end of the world. What's the feeling in-house?
Actually, that's a good question. I actually had a leadership meeting yesterday on Sunday, just because that's their day to kind of come in and do treatment, and we kind of get a little bit of game planning done. It's their off day. And surprisingly, totally okay. Not okay with the result, but no, the sky's not falling. I asked them, typically what happens in these type of situations is either one, there's, catastrophic injuries, which we've kind of run into, right? 2, you play really good opponents. If we play the New York Jets, Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cincinnati Bengals in a row, it's probably gonna be 3 losses in a row. Not saying that's what we play, but I'm just saying if you play tough teams in a row, you're gonna come out on a rough end if you don't execute and do the things you need to do. And then just in my past history, not necessarily here, but just in my history as coaching, there's typically something that's going on in the locker room, whether it's, offense versus defense, or I should be playing or I shouldn't be playing. So I had a meeting Sunday with our leadership committee. We usually pick the uniforms we're going to wear on Sunday. We usually figure out, from a week perspective of how the week's going to go. Do you guys need anything? Typically they tell me, there's no soap in the locker room, something of that nature. And I've asked them, I said, how are we? And Dalton Tucker and Owen Porter and Eli Neal are on that committee, and both of them said, Coach, our culture is in the best place it's ever been. He said, even down to the last drive of the game, Owen Porter said, even down to the last drive of the game for offense, and we knew we couldn't win the game, we wanted to score a touchdown. It wasn't like, hey, let's go get on the bus. It was like, hey, Cole, go score a touchdown. Hey, Antoine Roberts, go score a touchdown. And Tucker said, all the way to the last drive of the game, they were cheering for guys like Chris Thomas, who got in the game and did some really good things at the end, for those guys to go in and play well. So no, it's not, the sky's falling. It's not something going on in the locker room. It's not offense versus defense. It's not old guys versus new guys. It is, we're not executing well enough in order to win these type of games. And we know we're capable of. So I think knowing that they're capable is keeping them from getting frustrated. Does that make sense? When you kind of feel like you're butting your head up against a wall and you just can't, make a play. You can't, win a game. These guys feel very confident that the first 4 games of the year, we played really good. They know that some of the pieces are out, due to injury, and we've had to move some things around. Because of that, we're playing some younger guys in some spots that probably need to be more 20 to 25 play guys. And right now they're 65 to 70 play guys. But the leadership feels we're in a great spot. I was honestly surprised. I wasn't expecting them to be, the sky's falling, but I was expecting them to be a little bit more competitively frustrated. And they're competitively motivated. They're like, let's go back to work. Let's find a way to help these young guys play a little bit better. Coach, change the call a little bit so I can put a little more stress on myself and take some off of them. Really good, in a really good spot. Now, ultimately, we got to play better. No one is sitting here saying it's okay to have lost 4 games, but we understand there's a lot of football left. There's a lot of opportunity for these guys to create value for themselves. So I would say I was surprised at where we are, but I was not shocked, if that makes sense. We got really good leadership. We got a really good culture. And every week, we don't try to sugarcoat it. We tell these guys, if we go out and we don't play well, guys, we're going to lose. If we don't go out and we don't communicate on the back end, we don't go out and we don't execute, we turn the ball over, we're going to lose. So don't get frustrated. Don't cry in the locker room. Fix the things we need to fix. Obviously, coaches have a part of that. We got some things we got to do to kind of minimize some of the areas of confusion or mistakes. But I think we're in a really good spot. Obviously, we got to play well. Don't get me wrong.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach Huff. Appreciate the time today.
Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
Yeah, credit to Louisiana and Mike Desormeaux. They really did a great job here Saturday night. I thought they had a really great game plan coming in. Obviously, for us on our side, yeah, you turn the ball over 5 times in the game. You fumble at some really inopportune times for the first 6 drives. Our defense has to defend on our side of the field. And then we did not play responsive enough defensively, particularly on 3rd down. And I did think at inopportune times, we let them bleed us in the run game a little bit as well. So those are the things that we can look back on and go, look, when we play well, we're a good football team when we do our job. And when we don't, this league week in and week out is really competitive and really tough. And so you got to bring your A game every week. And nothing has come really easy for us this year so far. I know we've had some large margin victories, but we've played really well and done our job in those. And the games that we've lost, it seems like we're working on some very thin and narrow margins. And so those are the things that you got to find a way to work through and build through. And so on a short week, I was very proud of the responsiveness of our team in practice. But we certainly got to become a more consistent football team on game day. And so that's what we're going to push to do on Thursday night against Troy.
All right. For our media on the call, please raise your hand and we'll call on you for questions. Coach, this is a league that's built on regional rivalries. And obviously you've got a big one on Thursday night, in-state battle with Troy, the battle for the belt rivalry game. How important is that game to your fan base? And then, certainly for the team as well.
Yeah, I mean, these are what make the Sun Belt great. And I think, we've done a tremendous job of trying to build regional rivalries all over the Sun Belt from the East and the West. For us, having Troy as an in-state rival, an opportunity to play for a trophy game. Certainly there's bragging rights. Certainly there's competitive, work between players that knew each other back in high school or all those types of things. But then, at the end of the day, it's one chance once a year to be able to go against your competitors. Right. And to do that against an in-state rival on national TV Thursday night is a really special opportunity. I think it's what makes the Sun Belt great. And we're looking forward to going and competing in this game. I've won this game once before at Troy, and it was a really special moment. I'll never forget the celebration in that locker room and how special it was for those guys and the pride that they had in finding a way to win that game. And so looking forward to having the opportunity to do that again Thursday night.
And then you may have seen from Texas State, obviously seemed to try to slow down the run, slow down Vidal a little bit. And then Gunnar Watson responded with probably his best, passing performance of his career, certainly of the season. How does that kind of impact as you game plan for this week?
There's like it's an interesting feeling because I recruited Gunner out of high school, and so when I was here before I left to go to Indiana, I recruited him, got to know him. Just think he's a special individual, special young man. In some ways you root for him, when you're not playing him, and so that was fun to see. That was fun to see him go out and just, John and I are friends, and we talk a decent amount, and we've even texted the last couple nights here, getting ready for each other. But I told him it's special to see Gunner get better and better, and I think that's a credit to Joe Craddock and their offensive staff and John and the things that they're doing, and that they don't just have to rely on their run game. Texas State did a heck of a job. I mean, to hold Kamani Vidal and their running back core to whatever it was, 28 yards rushing, something like that. That's really hard to do, and a great job on their part. But really tremendous job of the offense for Troy and Gunner, particularly, finding ways to create explosive plays downfield in the passing game.
All right, let's go over to Dan.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
I think Coach Sumrall referred to Gunner as dumb tough. I guess that's a good compliment.
That is from Jon Sumrall. That's a compliment. That would certainly be his way of giving a good compliment. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Hey, Dan, you're on mute.
Yep, sorry, I hit the wrong button. He talked about his defense, about playing average and so forth. I think a lot of people in the league might disagree. What do they do really well on defense?
Yeah, I have told John multiple times he is full of it. His defense is far above what we would call average in college football right now. They are tremendous. They are way better than they were last year, and that's saying something because they were one of the best defenses in the country last year. They are playing at an extremely high level right now up front on the defensive line. Their defensive backs are experienced. It's all, pretty much the same guys that we've seen. And they're playing, in a lot more confidence. You got to remember, they're now in year 2 of this defense, and they had a lot of confidence last year, but they're taking all the experience of that confidence and applying it to this year's team. And so they are talented, probably the most talented defense in this league. They are playing with a ton of confidence. And they have probably as much experience as anybody in this league defensively, and they're playing like it right now.
Appreciate it, Coach.
All right, Coach Wong, appreciate the time this week.
All right, look forward to Thursday night. Be a fun matchup in the Sun Belt.